Greetings, I'm glad to have you here. My name is CJ. I'm young, bored, have too much time on my hands and a good internet connection. Therefore, a lot of the past few years for me have been staying up into the wee small hours of the morning, pursuing the many different facets and faces of a glorious Japanese art known as anime. I don't really know what draws me to the medium. Maybe it's the style of art, maybe it's the mass variety, or maybe it's the hilariously bad voiceovers that you can find on here. In short, I enjoy anime. And I've always had 2 cents that I've never thought to throw into the lion's den that is the reviewing circus. However, on the night of the 3rd of January, 2013, I discovered something that pushed my buttons enough for me to put on my hat and gloves and brave the snowy abandon that is YouTube in order to express my cynically formed opinions of a certain show. What show, I hear you silently shout across millions of miles of fibre-optic cable? Well, newly welcomed viewer, that show is School Days. Never before has an anime produced this swelling of black bile that wells up inside my gullet when the show is even mentioned as School Days does. The story is bland and takes some truly stupid twists. The lead male character is one of the most reprehensible piles of shit that has ever been drawn and animated in the medium. And none of the other characters help this by, if not equaling his level of depravity, then at least coming a close second. Well, at least that's my opinion. Anyway, might as well give you this anime's background. Not like it's going to help much, but that seems to be the way with these review things. School Days started out as a visual novel developed by Overflow Studios, stylized with a 0 instead of an actual O. Why? I don't know, and nor do I care at this point. It was released in April of 2005 on PC and was eventually ported to the PS2, where it was released in the US under the moniker of School Days HQ. The game itself featured minimal interactions, basically boiling down to the player choosing responses for the main character. And yet, that's still more interaction than the ending of Mass Effect 3. And no, I'm not over it yet. The game itself included multiple sex scenes that are present throughout, and even the hint of a rape scene. And the game itself eventually gained notoriety. Not for these scenes, but for the graphic deaths that could be viewed at the end of the game if certain choices and conditions were met through the game's dialogue system. These scenes included 2 characters being bisected by a train, a suicide from leaping atop an apartment block, landing headfirst, and, most notorious of all, the severing of one of the character's carotid vein with a dozuki, or hacksaw, to us in the West. So not the most happy-go-lucky of games. I'm surprised one of the endings didn't involve one of the characters wanting to scrub their eyeballs out with bleach. That's exactly what I wanted to do when I finished watching this anime. The game itself was adapted into a 12-part anime, airing in September of 2007, with its finale coming in February of 2008. The show was met with mixed reviews, some praising it for its take on the high school romance genre, whilst others panned it for the same reasons I'm going to rant about for the next few minutes. Anyway, let me get on to my main gripe about this show, and unfortunately, my main gripe is something that an anime has to get right in order to entice me, and I'm sure other viewers, to continue to watch. That factor is the lead characters. And if my small diatribe against the lead character earlier didn't fill you in, I've prepared a general-esque speech railing against him right here. It has been said that I dislike Makoto Ito. Spoilers, by the way. My friends, I hate Makoto Ito. I hate his motives. I hate his designs. I hate his actions. I hate his reactions. I hate the way he talks, walks, eats, sleeps, shits, fucks, and progresses throughout the entire story without one shred of guilt or remorse for his actions, even when they lead to fucking rape and murder. So yes, I dislike Makoto Ito. Well, now that that's over with, I don't think I really need to talk about this shithead ever again. I've got that weight off my chest. On to the next fuckknuckle that this terrible anime expects me to root for. Ah, yes, Kotana Katsura, the first love interest of our divine hero. Oh, how your story is very, very depressing. How do we know that she's his love interest? Well, by the way that he creepily stalks her on a train, of course. How did you not get that? It's almost like it's creepy and kind of fucked up to stalk someone on a train. I mean, but now, guys, let's be serious. Why wouldn't he? She's clearly an interesting character that he admires and respects as a person. I fucking hate you, Makoto. Anyway, Katsura, somehow, falls for the aforementioned creepy ball of slime, and they progress in their relationship with help from Makoto's desk partner, Sakai Soyonji. And she's an entirely different kettle of crazy. We'll get back to her in a few seconds. You may be thinking I have less contempt for this character than I do Makoto, and you'd be right, but surprisingly, not by much. Despite constantly being used and abused by not only Makoto, but other characters in the show, she continues to accept it, even showing signs of delusion throughout the second half of the series, where she swings from being reserved, a bookworm, and somewhat normal, to the complete opposite end of the spectrum. And by opposite end of the spectrum, I mean that she slices a character's belly open with a hacksaw to check if she's pregnant. Yep. That might be the most harrowing thing I've ever had to sit through, and I've managed to get through all of Elfenlied. And finally, we get to Sakai Soyonji, who, at least in my opinion, is the lesser of three very big evils. Then again, when you're competing with the shitheel that causes everything bad in this series to happen, and a complete psychopath, it's quite hard to top that. She starts out as Makoto's desk partner, and matchmaker between Makoto and Kotonoha, but gradually starts to fall for Makoto, eventually being bedded by him. After this, and Makoto's guilty return to Kotohana, she goes completely off the rails until we reach the climax of the show. And the rest, as they say, is history. I'm not actually going to show you the full footage of what happens, as I think you really need to see it to believe it. But I will show you three things. Firstly, this. And this. And finally, this. Yeah, now I need to go shower. I suggest you do as well, repeatedly. Once again, the problems that permeate the majority of the anime's cast come through in Sekai. She may try to do the right thing in the beginning, but ends up being as morally depraved and as twisted as Makoto, lying about something so massive that two of the main characters die because of it. And, despite that sick sense of satisfaction I get from the ending of this anime, I shouldn't be getting that kind of satisfaction. I should feel an empty void where the characters in the show I liked were, not the belly and brain ache I get having to sit through these episodes. The rest of the cast could have been likeable. I mean, take this guy. He could have been likeable, maybe even a protagonist. But no, he's definitely not. He's a fucking rapist. Give me something, School Days. Anything. Someone likeable. But no. We get reprehensible, deluded, and stupid as our main three. And the backup cast aren't fleshed out enough in the anime for me to give any kind of damn. And that's the main problem with it. I don't care about these characters enough to want to continue to watch. If I get a laugh out of a death in an anime that wasn't intentional or caused by Tetsuo Shima in the original English dub of Akira, I can't enjoy that anime. Compare the reaction of my death of two characters that I found to be evil. Firstly, my reaction to the death of Makoto. You deserve every single fucking wound you get for doing what you've done in the past 11 episodes, you shitheel. And now, my reaction to the death of Legato Blue Summers from Trigun. He won't shoot him. He what? He has. Oh, shit. That's not good. That is not good at all. What's going to happen? This is going to be... The last episode's going to be great. You see? You see the difference between a character I cared about and a character I didn't? And in all intents and purposes, Legato is a much worse character out of the two of them. When it comes to morality, at least. He kills people en masse. He forces people to kill themselves. And yet, I still had more emotions for this character death than I do for the death of this dickhead. Anyways, I've ranted on and on about these characters for what seems like an eternity, and not once touched upon the actual story. The problem? That the story itself is so centric on these awful people that it is essentially ruined for me due to these characters. Once again, I don't care enough. This story isn't strong enough on its own to let me get invested in these characters or care about their eventual bloody end. Even the majority of the later episodes, they may help to drive the story forward. It's in such a direction and in such a method that I have a hard time sitting through the final four. The characters that I've come to almost like, and trust me, I did try and like the majority of the minor characters in this series. They're stripped down and taken as these final episodes unfold. And that's not a metaphor. The bloody conclusion does turn the story into an almost cautionary tale about how being a womanizing arsehole never turns out well, but I still feel like I've wasted a significant amount of time on this show. But most telling of all is a section in episode 7, where the anime outright tells us that the protagonist is an unlikable ass. That is enough for me to not want to watch it anymore. But finally, we come to the last problem. That problem starts with a question. What was the point of making this? Seriously, why was this anime ever made? The aforementioned game actually produces a more flowing, choice-driven experience, with the player able to try and turn Makoto into a less reprehensible character than he is in the anime. And you can have a happy ending, despite this anime not deserving one. The show was an exercise in futility. But wait, you may cry. Maybe it was made for an audience too young to play the game itself. They were too young for these sex scenes. Unfortunately, the audience would have been too young for the graphic violence depicted in certain endings of the game. This violence is still present in the anime, producing one of the most haunting scenes from anime I've ever seen. So why was this made? Money. It does have one small saving grace, though, and that is the look of the anime itself. It's very nice looking. The animation is fluid, there are no hiccups along the way, and the voice actors do a good job in bringing the characters to life. I also am actually quite a big fan of the music that's used. It is used in certain scenes when it probably shouldn't be, but it still makes those scenes slightly more funny for me, especially the death of Makoto. I suppose I should give this anime a rating, which I shall be doing out of 5, as I will with all animes. This anime truly brings up a hatred inside of me for these characters, but I can't give it a 0. The animation is too nice for me to give it nothing, but the quality of animation cannot be helped when it is outweighed by a quantity of awful characters, underwhelming story, and overall pointlessness. In the end, I give School Days, the anime, 1 Dozuki out of 5.